Welcome south, brother. I'm Kirk Harnack at the WSB transmitter site in Atlanta, Georgia. There's 50 kilowatts of radio transmitter power and a 650-foot tower just outside. We're going to tour it all with Charles Kinney, Vic Jester, and Charlie Wooten, all coming up next on TWiRT.
This Week in Radio Tech is brought to you by Broadcasters General Store with outstanding service, savings, and support. Online at bgs.cc. By Broadcast Bionics with the Bionic Studio, including talk show control, social media, and visual radio. Broadcast Bionics brings exceptional audience engagement to radio and TV. By Angry Audio. Audio problems disappear when you get angry at angryaudio.com. By Nautel. Online at nautel.com/webinars. And by Max Connect Wireless, prioritized high-speed internet service designed for transmitter sites and remote broadcasts.
Hey friends, welcome into This Week in Radio Tech, the show where we talk about everything from the microphone to the light bulb at the top of the tower, which is just above us up there. I'm Kirk Harnack along with Chris Tobin, and I'm at the WSB transmitter site. Charles Kinney. Hey, Charles, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Great, and we're going to talk to you in just a sec. We're going to talk to the man who designed this facility, designed the building anyway.
Absolutely.
And talk to you about keeping it going. And I think Charlie Wooten is here.
Charlie Wooten is indeed here, the legend himself.
And we might finish things off with a funny word from C.J. Jackson.
That's quite possible.
He has a lot of funny words. Hey, Chris Tobin's here as well. Hey, Chris, welcome in. How you doing this week, sir?
I'm doing well, thank you. It's a nice transmitter site you have there that you're visiting. Actually, it's always been in the years past, but it's nice and spacious. Yeah, no, it's great. There's something to be said for a place where you can lay things out, work carefully, and focus, and not be worried about being pushed against the wall. So it's good. It's a good place.
So, Chris, you are in studio at WBGO today, it looks like.
Yes, I'm in the performance space, just so we know that there's a musical instrument in the room. Yeah. Today's been video conferencing day, so I've been in the studio all day. Connecting and talking with folks, so it's been a great backdrop. People are like, "Wow, is that a green screen?" I was like, "No, that's an actual backdrop."
Now, when you say video conferencing, are you doing these, or are you facilitating for others, or a bit of both?
A bit of both. I'm hosting some for meetings internally, and others I've been invited to. So yeah, I've just set up camp here, and I've got a camera set up, tripods, got everything in place, and every day I'm in here. Every week we got stuff. I just walk in, turn on, and start talking. It's great.
Well, Chris, and to our you watching at home, today we're going to do something. We're going to try to do something pretty cool. We've done the show from right here. We've talked to other engineers here, although we've never gotten to talk to Vic Jester, who helped design the building, right?
He was instrumental in all of this building.
But today we're going to go out to the tower, to the ATU building. And we're going to try to do a live shot from the ATU building. There's a lot of RF there, I understand.
There is indeed.
So we're gonna do that coming up in the show. Chris, we want to mention real quickly here, though, about what Nautel is doing, because they are continuing through the holidays. They're doing 4 episodes of Transmission Talk Tuesdays that are part of a series called People in Our Industry. Now, this is not a webinar. It's a roundtable discussion. And, Chris, that means you and me and anybody watching or listening can be part of the roundtable discussion. Now, next week, November 24th, that's 2 days before Thanksgiving here in the U.S., at noon Eastern time, it's episode number 1 of People in Our Industry. Jeff is going to be chatting, Jeff Welton, that is. I just talked to him today, by the way. Jeff Welton will be chatting with Gary and Cindy Cavell. Gary and Cindy are husband and wife team who make up the Cavell part of Cavell, Mertz & Associates. They're an engineering consulting firm in Manassas, Virginia. They're both winners of the NAB Engineering Achievement Award, Gary for radio, Cindy for television. And this session is going to be a lot of fun as we talk about the times that stuff didn't always go according to plan. You can register for this webinar, this roundtable discussion, although the link is at webinars. So here you go, nautel.com/webinars. nautel.com/webinars and sign yourself up. Go ahead and sign up for all 4 of these. They're occurring in November and December, and that way you'll be signed up. And hey, if you can't attend one week, not a big problem. You'll get an email reminder if you want to add it to your Google Calendar, your Outlook calendar. It's easy to do. Just click a link for that. But go ahead and get signed up at nautel.com/webinars. You can go ahead and do it right now. We won't mind, because you can multitask. You can listen to us, watch us, and do the nautel.com webinars at the same time. So, People in Our Industry, from Nautel. Thanks a lot. And thanks to Jeff Welton. Again, I got to talk to Jeff today. He is so helpful. I had a couple of HD radio questions and a question about a repair that I'm going to be making while I'm in Hawaii in a couple of weeks. So that's going to be fun. All right. The title of this show is Welcome South, Brother. Now you think that's a little bit hokey, yeah?
Well, I think it's okay, but the myth behind it, of course, drives me crazy. Much like so many of the three-letter calls from back in the day, those were assigned by the Commerce Department.
Really?
And the radio station owners at the time just sort of backed into whatever they could make work with the calls they were assigned.
Wait a minute. You're telling me that WSM, they didn't say we shield millions and apply for that.
That is correct.
And WLS, world's largest store.
They backed right in.
WGN, world's greatest newspaper.
Backed right in. Whole lot of watts, which
Wow.
they had nothing to do with their call sign.
That's what ham radio guys do with their call signs. They get assigned a random call sign, and then they try to make it mean something.
Well, in fact, with WSB, originally the WSB calls were assigned to ships, more than one.
Wait a minute, what?
So originally, WSB was used
no.
for ship-to-shore radio and was assigned to at least two different ships, and possibly three, but at least two.
Why would it move from one ship to another?
Unfortunately, those ships sank. So after the last ship sank, the Commerce Department decided it would probably be a good idea to assign WSB to something land-based.
Something that wouldn't sink.
And
Not literally, anyway.
God bless us, we haven't had any sinkings here at the site.
All right.
And hopefully we'll still be around. WSB in about 18 months is going to turn 100. So
Really?
very excited about that.
Wow. So, started in
1922, March 15th.
Well, that'd be 99 next. No,
It'll be 99
next year.
99 next year.
Okay, and 100
And 100, yeah. So
2 years,
18
okay.
months.
Okay. Oh, 18. You said that. 18. Okay. All right. Wow. Well, good. Shall we have a party?
Oh, there's going to be a party.
Okay.
And we'll make sure you're invited to stream it live so you can enjoy it with us.
So obviously I was misinformed, a wrong impression. I thought that the place we're standing, not this building, but I thought this place we're standing where this tower is, it was the original site, but I guess not.
It is not. This
All right.
site was built in 1930, and it is the original 50 kilowatt site.
Oh, okay.
And when it was built, WSB was on 740 before the frequency shift in 1939.
Oh, okay. All right.
So
All right.
been 750 since 1939 and going strong.
Does that mean that the tower was built for 740?
The tower it's a half wave tower, and it is cut for half wave at 740. But of course, 750 being a higher frequency tunes right up.
Yeah. And so it's a tad over a half wave.
Tad over a half wave at 750.
Is there anything other, we see these iconic towers like WSM has this Blaw-Knox tower, the diamond-shaped tower, and it's well over a half wave, I think.
5.8.
It's 5/8. So was any consideration given to making WSB 5/8?
I don't know the answer to that, but I bet our special guest Vic Jester will have much more insight into that. That was long before me. This tower, as ancient AM towers go, is actually fairly boring. It's a black iron tower, and it's got the original lap insulator. So all of that is absolutely original. And the ATU building is the original building from 1930.
So black iron, that means it's iron and not steel?
Correct.
Wow.
And I actually had it inspected about 8 or 9 years ago, and we had the structural guys go up, and they actually drilled into it, and they said, it looks great. Keep painting it, and it'll be good for another 100 years.
Wow. Now, this tower, we don't have a picture to show you right here, but at a couple of points on the tower, it's got some kind of metal wrapping around it. What is that?
There's a lot of mythology about those as well.
Okay.
It looks like big 55-gallon drums that are wrapped around at each guy point, and based on the drawings, which I have, they're just structural steel at the guy point. But there's a lot of myth about what that's for. And
so at first glance, you might think it was for better aviation visibility.
Which, when this tower was built, that airport that we worry about now was not in existence. So.
Okay. What's the nearby airport?
Peachtree DeKalb.
Peachtree DeKalb. Is that
PDK.
that's more of a private jet airport?
Yes.
Okay.
And exceptionally busy.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Wow. So, in a few minutes, we're going to hear about this building. But before we do that, tell us a little bit about what is actually on the air. You have how many transmitters do you have? What's actually on the air here?
So we've got a DX50, which is the aux, which to your right, or if you want to turn that around, and
that's the aux transmitter there.
At the far end, we have a 3DX50, which is the main.
Oh, tell you what, pull up a little bit. Let me.
There we go.
So that's the main way down there.
Way down there.
Okay.
And we have a few challenges every now and then, but generically they're very, very reliable and don't have too many problems.
Now you've got a DX50 and a 3DX50. If I'm not mistaken, that's exactly the pairing that WSM in Nashville has.
I believe that's the case.
And if I'm not mistaken, they run theirs 50-50.
We tried that. We found that the electronics in the 3DX50 were not very conducive to having it sit off for extended periods of time.
Doesn't want a week off, huh?
It's not like a week off. So the 3DX50 is the main, and the DX50 always comes on when it's asked to. So.
Wow. Now, since the last time I was here, you've got better internet out here. Now, we're in the middle of a city, so getting internet here shouldn't have been a challenge. It was just a matter of, do we really need fast internet?
Well, the challenge with internet here is that we have, of course, ground radials, and we're in the middle of a shopping center.
Oh.
So not only do we have to worry about bringing in fiber underneath the ground radials, but underneath a parking lot. So we were able to find a wireless provider, which worked out really well. So now we've got a 100 meg circuit out here, and it's fantastic.
Oh, this is wireless getting out here?
This is wireless.
Okay, and you've got a backup that's a 4G LTE modem.
Correct.
Right? Okay, all right. And I thought the service out here last time I was here was just DSL.
DSL, which was very bad. It did not enjoy the high RF environment.
So you have a wireless provider giving you 100 meg service.
Correct.
Is theirs a point to multi-point, or are they giving you a special point-to-point feed from somewhere?
It's going point to point to one of their hubs, and then from there they're doing multi-point.
Okay. So there's other people right in the neighborhood that also have good
Correct.
service. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, we're shooting just over a mile.
So are you, as far as I could see, you're just using the IP for remote control?
Remote control.
Cameras?
And we've also got backup automation machines for all of the FMs.
Oh, okay.
And IP codecs that we've got in the event that what spurred it was COVID.
Yeah.
In the event we had to leave the studio building due to an outbreak, which mercifully never happened.
So wait, you could have run other stations from here?
Absolutely. We can run all the Atlanta stations from here, all the Atlanta CMG stations.
Yeah. Wow. So the backup automations are right here in this rack.
Mm-hmm.
That is amazing.
And they're sitting there playing, and they're up to date with what's currently on the air. So if we had to switch out here, it would be pretty seamless.
Now I see a fair amount of fairly new equipment here, but I see some old AM stereo gear over here. What does this do?
Well, that's the old frequency monitor, and I just think it looks good in the rack. I'm afraid to plug it in.
I'd be afraid too. That is pretty cool. Is there well, we really can't take the camera all around and show people, but you've got it's not a graveyard, not a museum. It's somewhere in between these two things.
It is.
You've got a lot of PR&E consoles over here, right?
We do. If you need PR&E parts, give me a call.
But you're working on some PR&E radio mixers here.
We are. Well, actually, they're the stereo mixers.
Oh, sure.
And we had them surplus, and they proved to be really great as little mixers for setting up news pods out here if we needed to do that. So we were able to revive those, and it's been great to have those on hand.
Gotcha. So about this site, we're going to talk to Vic right after this commercial break, but at this site, to you as an engineer, you've been here, 20-some years?
21 years.
All right. So you've worked in this building on and off for 21 years?
No, I worked in this building on for 21 years.
What about this building do you think is one of the coolest engineering things? That's a great idea. I'm so glad that got designed in.
I got to be honest with you, everything about this place, there's nothing cooler than being the chief engineer of a 3-letter call. It's just cool. And I realize that makes me a geek, but it's okay. Everything, we've got 2 different feeds from Georgia Power coming in here. We've got a transfer switch between those. The output of that goes to another transfer switch for the generator.
Wow. We've
got top-of-the-line transmitters. Everything about it. We've got dual T networks. in the ATU. So if something
okay.
burns up, we can switch.
We're going to go
over.
out and see those dual networks. I was wondering, I was out there earlier testing the wireless mic. I was wondering why there was T network here and T network there.
We've got dual
Okay.
dual coax feeds going out there, feeding dual networks, and we can switch either network into the tower. It was designed unbelievably well and is really, really bulletproof.
Gotcha. The one thing that you don't have, conspicuous by its absence, is a backup tower.
That is a challenge, and we at one point did have a backup site, but we lost our lease, and that's why out of the picture. But there's a DX10 that's sitting here, that's ready to go, and it's
where's that at?
It's right over there, right?
Wrapped in plastic.
Wrapped in plastic.
Okay.
And it's in great shape, ready to go, but we just don't have a tower to plug it into. So that is definitely a fear. And if we ever have to get the tower painted, which we need to, it will be overnight and painful.
Yeah. They'll be painting in the dark, right?
They will indeed.
Okay. Just for a few hours every night. Hey, Chris Tobin, I wonder if you have any questions here. You haven't had the pleasure of being here. Now, when you come here, if I'm here, the first thing I'll say to you is, welcome south, brother. And you'll know you're at WSB.
And me coming from the north, that could be a problem.
Have you had any questions that I haven't thought of to ask Charles about?
No, he's covered everything. It's great. I mean, it's nice to hear about a well-planned facility, and you've been there 20 plus years, so you've got a chance to keep it intact. So it's great. I just love the design of the whole thought process, and the fact that you have wireless internet's even better. So I think that's great. My hats off to you there. It's great work you and the others are doing.
Well, Chris, pay attention, because after this first break, we're going to be talking with Vic Jester, and Vic's going to talk about the design of the building, since he architecturally designed the building, and I'm not sure I've seen every nook and cranny of the building yet. I was introduced to the men's room a while. I guess there is no ladies' room here, is there? It's just
generally
one bathroom.
There's just no ladies.
There's no ladies in here either. Okay. Our show This Week in Radio Tech is brought to you in part by our friends at Broadcast Bionics, and I got to tell you, their X-Screen call screening software, which comes free with Telos multi-line phone systems, talk show systems, is just amazing. And the upgraded version is great too. So let's hear from Broadcast Bionics. We'll be right back. Hang on.
X-Screen 2, the simply amazing new way to control, screen and log calls using your Telos HX6, IQ6 or VX talk show systems, helping you to get the best calls to air quickly and easily. X-Screen 2 is a powerful touchscreen interface that connects alongside your VSET 6 or VSET 12 handsets, and even enables you to screen directly on your PC using a USB headset or sound card. X-Screen 2 clearly displays the status of lines and hybrids, quickly captures caller details for screening, and automatically stores a log of calls and easily manages station and show directories of important numbers. There's also a scheduling clock and chat window for instant messaging and visual talkback to other X-Screen workstations on the system. As soon as a line rings, the caller's name is displayed, if they've rung before, and we can look up their location. X-Screen also usefully shows how many times they've called before and when they last called. You can add alerts to identify nuisance or persistent callers before you've even answered the call. To route a call to the VSET or headset, simply click on the handset symbol, exactly as you would use the button on the VSET. Using the other icon on the line, we can hold the call or route the call to a hybrid. Selecting an alternative device will change the icon key so you'll always know the destination of the call. The tabs on the right-hand side provide more information and control the selected caller. We can add this caller to a caller directory or create a manual entry for someone we call regularly. Calling someone is as simple as just clicking dial on their entry. A free version of X-Screen is included with your HX6, IQ6 and VX talk show system. The full version of the software enables the caller database, directories and alerts and other cloud-based features. All Telos customers can try the full version for 3 months by downloading the free trial. More information is available by contacting Broadcast Bionics or your local dealer.
Hey, we're back, and hey, Suncast, for some reason I've lost any audio return. I don't know why, but I can see that we're on, so we're just going to go straight ahead right now and talk to Vic Jester. I'm Kirk Harnack. It's This Week in Radio Tech, episode 519, and we're at the WSB-AM transmitter site. WSB, we in a friendly way, say it stands for Welcome South Brother. And this is a 50,000 watt AM station.
Clear channel 1A.
Yep, 1A at 750, right?
750.
How many states does it purportedly cover?
It depends on when you look at it. Back in the 30s, it covered probably 30 states, most of the East Coast. Some of the old guys that worked here when I came to work here, I started working here in '81. One guy in particular told me when he worked in the Midwest in Kansas, he worked at a 250 watt station, full timer, and he said they would regularly get reports at night from like 700-800 to 1,000 miles away, because there was so little man-made noise back then. So you got to go back. When you go back that far with a signal like this, it covered substantially more than it does today. So,
but is that primarily due to man-made noise, or are there other stations that have got directional patterns protecting here that leak in to some degree?
A number of years ago, I believe it was in the 60s or 70s, the 1As, 1A was protected from all other stations in the United States. And then in the 70s or 80s, if I remember correctly, somebody will probably chime in and correct me, they were allowed, other stations were allowed outside of, I think 1,000 miles away or something like that. It was quite a ways away. In other words, we wound up with a 640 here in Atlanta, which is a co-channel with a station in Los Angeles. But up until that point in the early to mid 80s, you couldn't have even put on one in Atlanta. It was a real clear channel. And now we have kind of clear channels.
I didn't do a very good job of introducing you at first, but just to say that you're Vic Jester. You used to work here to some degree, yeah?
I worked for Cox Broadcasting, Cox Radio from 1981 to 1980, late 85, early 86. And at that time, the WSB had an AM and FM and a TV. And still do, but of course they've got other stations now too, right? But you were limited in the number of stations you could own at the time. I believe it was 7, 7, and 7 at that point in time. But I came to work here, and WSB-AM was in a building that your listeners can't see it, but we're in a building that is right at the base of the tower. The original transmitter building for this site was up near the main road that comes through here.
A few hundred feet away, yeah?
About 500 feet away at this point.
Tower was still here, obviously.
Well, the original site here was that building, which was built for a Western Electric transmitter. It was a balanced output 50 kilowatt rig.
Really? So it had two legs coming out.
Yeah, it was a 2-wire transmission line.
Yeah.
And it came out of the back of the transmitter building to another tuning building that was really a Ballon, if you want to think about it that way. And then it went up and out to a flat top. So there was a flat top on this site up until 1939. That was about 1934, 35 when that building was built with the balanced output transmitter. And literally it was a push-pull output transmitter. The Western Electric was. It was a 306A, if I remember right. I mean, I never saw it, but I saw drawings and specifications.
Do you know how big a behemoth that thing was?
The whole building.
Like 10 racks worth, or what we would call racks?
Yeah, probably 20 racks across the front today.
Wow.
But the racks themselves weren't really, they were racks, but there was a wall there.
Right.
And a platform that went out, and then it dropped off into a lower area where you had the tubes. And they were all in wooden frames, if you will. In the lower part of the building were the MG sets, the motor generators, that generated the DC voltages for, at that time, the DC voltages for filaments and bias. And the high voltage, if I remember correctly, on that transmitter, they took the line voltage as it came in the building and rectified that. There were pole pigs on the ground outside the back of the building.
Yeah.
And those were that was the high voltage supply for that transmitter.
Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. So those were in a different building.
That was a different building.
100 feet away.
Right. And that building was there until 1984. When this building was built. Trammell Crow Company partnered with Cox to take this site and build a shopping center around the tower. And this was after a successful industrial park was built around the KFI site in Los Angeles.
Okay. I'm sorry.
That was the first.
What time frame did Trammell Crow want to build this? Late 70s?
This building was built from 83 to 84.
Okay.
Basically 82, 83, 84 in there. And up until that time, it was just an open field. In fact, I remember cattle grazing out here.
Oh my goodness, that's hard to imagine. Because we're in Atlanta.
Well, and I tell people one of the first things I did, this 50 kilowatt AM, 3-letter calls. Boy, I've hit the big time. I've gotten me a good job, right? So one of the first things I did when I went to work there is I went in and I found the book with the licenses.
Okay.
And I started thumbing through the license. I said, the 50 kilowatt AM license, right? So I look at, and I start reading, and the location for WSB was near Tucker, Georgia. That was the address on the license. Because face it, if you didn't know where it was, that would have been crazy. It's the only thing out there near Tucker, Georgia. It's this big 650-foot tower.
Yeah. Near Tucker, Georgia. There wasn't a road number. There wasn't a box number. I think there were coordinates on it by that time in the 80s. Okay.
But the street address was near Tucker, Georgia.
Oh my goodness.
And
you mentioned it before, and some people watching this already know this, but so this tower's been here since what? 39. When 650
feet.
Okay. But when it was built here, it was cow pastures, as you said.
It was cow pastures. They had a flat top with a 2-wire,
right?
And then the tuning house, if you will, literally a house that fed the flat top. Well, then in 39, all the stations were required to go to omnidirectional vertical radiators.
Yeah.
Well, some of them, I say omnidirectional, some of them were directional antennas.
But still using vertical radiators.
But basically flat tops were outlawed at that point.
Yeah.
So they went to vertical radiators. And in 39, they built this tower, and the 2-wire feed went on through that building down to this building at the base of this tower. And there was a real ballon in this tower that changed the balanced feed to an unbalanced feed for the vertical radiator. Well, then later, they put in a 6-wire open wire feed from the building down to this building that is still here today, the ATU antenna tuning house, if you will. They put in a 6-wire open wire. That was in use when I was here. And there was a 6-inch hard line from that building down here, and that was a 75 ohm. It was surplus UHF TV coax.
Oh, wow.
And they put that in because there was a real push in the late 60s, early 70s. There was a real push to allow the 1As to go to 100 kilowatts. So they put that other transmission line in with the idea of being able to go to 100 kilowatts.
Gotcha. Wow.
And so those were the two lines that were here when I started.
So when did the idea come to put the transmitter at the base of the tower and develop the land around here?
That was about 1983.
Okay.
And Trammell Crow approached Cox, and they had successfully done essentially the same thing in Los Angeles.
Right.
With KFI, with 640 there. Here, they decided to put in a shopping center, retail, which, because of the location of this, was a much better use of the property. And we sat down and drew up basically the type of building that was there to house the two transmitters, because the plan all along was to move the two transmitters that we had to the new building.
Okay.
And this building was built at the base of the tower, and it's poured concrete, and it's 2 levels. The bottom level was an intake plenum, if you will. It was a basement to store stuff in too, but it was an intake plenum that pulled in outside air through an electrostatic precipitator. The air filter, you had a pre-filter, and then you had a big electrostatic, and I'm talking about, about 10 feet wide by about 7 feet tall air filter.
Wow.
And that air came into the basement and supplied air to the 2 Continental transmitters.
And those did sit in here?
They were in here.
Okay.
The C sat right over here.
Yeah.
And the B sat right over there.
Okay.
And we moved them from the old building down here.
That was a job to move those.
It was an interesting project, to say the least.
So, okay, walk us through, as technically, if we can do it, we're going to go outside after this next commercial break and have a look at the tower and the ATU building. Is it still light outside? Oh, yeah. Okay, it's all right. But tell us, you kind of architected this building. And laid it out.
I kind of laid out, Ron Wilson was the chief engineer, and I kind of laid out on paper a very rough drawing of, here's what we've got now, here's what we would like to have. And of course, Trammell Crow, I won't say money was no object, but they were really interested in developing this, and they wanted very badly to satisfy all of the technical needs. And face it, this was a 50 kilowatt clear channel, and we didn't want to mess it up.
I'm guessing the Trammell Crow helped pay for getting this done.
They paid for all of it.
Paid for you. Okay.
Yeah.
Tell you what, I have an idea. I think this will work. Why don't you step over here off camera with me, and we're just going to have a little bit of a look around. I'm not going to walk anywhere, but we're going to look around. Tell me that there's a garage door over at this end over here. What is that for?
That garage door, the idea was there's a basement underneath. You will see, if I can point to right here, you will see there's a post.
Yep.
And this post is on top. There's a winch mechanism, and over here there's trap doors in the floor.
Right.
The idea was to be able to open the garage door and bring equipment in from the back of a truck.
Yeah.
Open those 2 trap doors in the floor, and then lower the equipment down into the basement, whatever we needed, blowers or transformers. The plate transformers for the 2 transmitters were down there as well. So, or the power supplies, it was power supply cubicles.
Now, I take it there's an exit door at that end, the beige door, but there's also a wooden door. What is that?
That is to the stairwell that goes down to the basement.
Okay. I haven't been down there yet.
So you can, we'll take you down there. And
by the way, there's a heck of a collection of broadcasting magazines right there on those bookshelves from beginning in December of 1931.
Yeah. Charles saved those from the old building, from the studio building, and they, of course, had a subscription, and they saved every one. And there was a library in the old building.
I just got word a little while ago that David Gleason of WorldRadioHistory.com says he doesn't have good scans of all of those, and he's going to get with Charles and make a request to scan some of those.
Yeah, so, that's great.
Now we have an engineering shop over here. Is there an engineering? It's a studio through that.
Yeah, that was the bomb shelter. This, there was a FEMA. Well, it wasn't FEMA back then,
right?
But there was a civil defense bomb shelter studio in the old building.
Whoever the duck and cover people were.
Yeah, exactly. And so we built one down here, and that's poured concrete walls. I don't know, it's 12 or 14 inch thick walls there. And then there's a shop area. We had a shop in the old building, so of course we had to put a shop in the new building.
You got running water out here.
Got running water, and if you'll notice, let me see if I can put my finger right here. And there's some...
That contraption there.
That contraption is a still.
Huh?
It's a still.
So you have a second source of income here, a little hooch?
Yeah. and up, it may not be there anymore, but up until I left employment here, on the wall was a license from the state of Georgia to run that still. The still was to generate distilled water for the liquid cooled, the water cooled transmitters they had. Well, in particularly the 407A, the Western Electric 407A was water cooled.
Gotcha.
So they generated or made their own distilled water.
I'm going to do a TV no-no and just go ahead and slide around here. There's the 3DX50 that's typically on the air.
Right.
Then here's the central rack of equipment, remote control, old stereo stuff, audio processing.
Frequency monitor?
Frequency monitor, yes. Backup automation for the other Cox stations here. And then here is the DX50, the older 50 kilowatt. And then, if I can get the camera over here, we have some big power switching gear.
Yeah. What you're seeing here there are two utility services that come into this building. 460 volt, 277, 480 today. There are two utility services. The disconnect on the left is from one source. The disconnect on the right, the big square D disconnects, that's from the other utility source. The green switch in between them selects whichever one you want, or if one dies and the other one is hot, then it selects that source.
Yeah.
And in the old days, that's all you had. You didn't have generators big enough really to carry the load of a 50 kilowatt AM. On the other side of that, which we can't see, but on the other side of that is another transfer switch that takes the output, the load side of the utility transfer switch, and then uses that as one source, and the generator is the other source into that transfer switch. So if you lose both utility feeds, then the generator comes out.
Now, we can't get the camera over there, but there's a couple of circuit breaker boxes, and one of them has a whole lot of conduits coming out the bottom.
Right.
What did you tell me about the joints in those conduits?
When we built this building, one of the things, there were a number of things that we felt very important. One is, because it was going to be retail, we wanted to make sure that the tenants in the buildings had as little RFI as possible.
Right.
And it wasn't like a radiation thing. It was more like, well, they're going to put a movie theater over in the corner of this property. It might be a good idea to have a way to reduce the RF so it wouldn't get into their sound system. Right. And the other, as well as the other buildings.
All the retail around here.
All the retail.
Phone systems, intercoms, PA systems.
So this building is, like I said, it's poured concrete and concrete block and brick on, there's a brick veneer to make it look nice on the outside. But there's shielding, there's expanded copper mesh shielding with copper strap at the top and bottom, and then there's a solid metal roof, and all of that is tied together. It's silver sorted. The conduits that you had in the shot earlier, they're all rigid conduit, which means it's threaded, and it's not just a piece of conduit with a screw in it for mechanical bonding, but all of the conduit in this building is rigid, and it's like water pipe. It's, you screw it together. Each one of those joints, on top of being threaded and screwed together, is tack welded.
And you showed me the little tack welding
Yes.
that goes from the joint to the pipe on the top and bottom.
Every
Yeah.
single piece of metal in this building and every single piece of metal in all of the outbuildings,
Oh, the retail
the
shop?
retail shops,
Yeah.
all of the metal is tack welded at every joint.
Wow. Wow.
Every joint.
And this has all been here since about 83, the retail, 83, 84?
84, yeah.
Okay. Have there been a lot of RF problems with people
No,
that are right nearby?
surprisingly, the combination of not having those metal, in some cases dissimilar metals, which
Yeah.
can form a rectifier very
Sure.
easily, but having all of that bonded together and the metal roof, and of course there was a new ground system put in for the whole shopping center, for the tower, and it's under the shopping center. And really, the buildings with their metal roof became part of the ground system, if you want to think of it that way.
Yeah.
Just a ground system that came out, and then the metal roof became part of it, right? But surprisingly, the amount of RF interference in this area was very little.
Huh.
It's and there are volts, tens of volts per meter outside of this building.
When we go outside, also, I want to have a quick look at how did you keep, don't answer me now, but how did you keep business or trucks or transfer trucks or cars in the parking lot from hitting the guy anchor points? I got to go take a look at this. That would bother me a lot.
It did us too.
You're watching This Week in Radio Tech, episode 519. I'm Kirk Harnack at the WSB transmitter site in Atlanta, Georgia. They had a little soiree here earlier today. The Next Best Thing crew came through here and met a lot of engineers from the Atlanta area. We're here with Vic Jester, who had a hand in designing this building that we're in right now from the mid-1980s. We're going to go outside. I think Charles Kinney may take us outside, or maybe you, I don't know. And we're going to try that. Chris Tobin has a word for you from Broadcasters General Store about the Broadcast Tools Pro Mix 4. We'll be right back.
A winning combination is Broadcasters General Store and Broadcast Tools Pro Mix 4. You may ask why. Well, the Pro Mix 4 is a compact, full-featured monaural audio mixing desk or console. And it's perfect for almost any broadcast, podcast studio, or maybe a home studio recording, voice track, or voiceover talent. Think about it. I always tell people, and every time we do this on This Week in Radio Tech, Kirk and I, he's always asking me, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? I'm like, great technology, but the question has to be, what is the workflow? And the workflow is key. So, with 3 combination microphone line inputs and a dedicated 4th input, you can switch between balanced line in and the built-in USB audio interface. That's pretty powerful because we all know USB audio interface devices are popular, they're easy to use, and why not? If you can have a 4-channel mixer with an on-off button, tally, mix minus, independent headphone control, USB audio interface is ideal. And the headphones, by the way, the headphone outputs 3/4-inch standard headphone outputs with individual controls, as I mentioned, and you can mix and pan, allow custom headphone mixes because there's always the need. It never goes without saying, and I've done many of them, and many of you in the audience know exactly what I'm talking about. And other features include a switchable program limiter. Now, yes, we can get on the topic of the subjective limiters. Do you need it? Why should you do it? The reality is you need to just control the audio. I'm not talking about squashing it. I'm not talking square waves. I'm just talking just keep it in check so downstream things are in order. That's all you want. And the Broadcast Tools Pro Mix 4 gives you that capability. Set it and forget it. That's what you want. Between mix minus output for connections to the usual telephone hybrid, or maybe it's mix minus to another studio because you have 2 studios working together and you got to do something special. Election night coverage. Maybe it's some other event. Who knows? And then there's the infamous and always overlooked, I shouldn't say infamous, but very popular on-air light relay output. That's right. There are many mixing consoles you can purchase for less, and you won't get that one feature that keeps the errant sounds from inside the studio. So don't forget, on-air light relay outputs are handy, so the Pro Mix 4 gives you that option as well. It's a great choice for remote broadcast applications, OB events. Podcasting is ideal for podcasting. A friend of mine who has a company that does podcast work in sports loves the fact that he's got a console that gives him all the features he needs, and it comes in very handy, and it's easy to use. So if you have to offer it to someone, say you're a talent, you have an announcer, may not be technically inclined, but boy, editorially they're crackers, and that's what you want. You can walk them through, and they're happy. Once they don't have to worry about the technology, the editorial comes out, and the stories are told, and that is where the success occurs. So remember, winning combination is Broadcasters General Store and the Pro Mix 4, Broadcast Tools. Broadcasters General Store, BGS, but many of us like to say, 352-622-7700. 352-622-7700. Or if you'd like, from your smartphone or maybe your desk, or maybe from the comfort of your sofa, bgs.cc. That's right, online at bgs.cc. And think about it. Think about the workflow. That's the key. Broadcast tools by design, history, use, reputation is rock solid. So you don't have to concern yourself with that. What you need to concern yourself is, how do I place this in my workflow? How do I succeed? How do I enjoy knowing that I'm generating revenue, telling good stories, and everybody's happy? That's the key. So Broadcast General Store, Broadcast Tools, Pro Mix 4, the two can't be beat. So give it a try. bgs.cc. And tell them you heard it here at This Week in Radio Tech, just so they know that somebody's paying attention. Because if you're not paying attention, you're going to miss those dollars, and you don't want to do that in this time. This is the year to do it. This is the year to make it happen. Pro Mix 4, Broadcast Tools Pro Mix 4. Let's see what Kirk is wandering about. He's on his own OB.
Oh,
how's the outside broadcast doing at the ATU?
So can you hear me okay, Chris?
I can hear you just fine.
Awesome.
Shaky
Okay.
camera.
Well, so and my IFB is a radio that's 30 feet away from me, and it's being fed by a temporary transmitter. So
Low power.
low power, very low power, very, very low
Part
power.
15. Go ahead, say it's part 15.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
right.
And you can get 4 or 5 radio engineers, certified radio.
All right. This Week in Radio Tech, episode 519. I think this may be a first live broadcast from a 50 kilowatt antenna tuning unit. Now, earlier, for those of you who may not know, we alluded to this ATU of the antenna tuning. It's bringing the
Move
signal
closer to
out.
the camera.
What's that?
Move closer to the camera. You're dropping out a little bit on the radio mic. Do you have a fluorescent light to demonstrate the power of RF?
Oh, there is a fluorescent light out here. Yes. So hang on. Keep us in the shot, good man. Scott Trask is cameraman. So I'm here with Vic Jester. We're in the ATU building. It takes a whole building. Most AM radio stations, they have just a little box out by the tower. So the ATU converts the impedance of the coax to the characteristic impedance of the tower. So you get 100% transfer of energy from the coax to the tower. Now, and then some other considerations as well to make the impedance nice for the transmitter.
Yeah,
and so forth.
the transmitter is much happier, is the way we think of it. When it is matched to the tower, you don't have power loss, and you don't have voltages that are uncharacteristic, that, high voltages where you don't expect them. There are high voltages, of course, but when matched properly, then those voltages are in locations where you've accommodated that.
Do you happen to know the impedance of this tower?
It used to be, and Charles is standing right over here, it used to be 159 ohms. 172.
172 ohms, and the coax that comes out here is 50 ohms.
That's correct. It's 50 ohms now. The open wire line was about 270 something ohms.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
It was a 6-wire. There were 4 wires. Can you see that okay?
On the outside.
There were 4 wires on the outside, which you can think of as the outside conductor. If you think of a coaxial type of transmission line, the 4 on the outside were the outer conductor, and there were 2 on the inside, and that was about 270 ohms, and there was another matching ATU, if you want to think of it. It was a matching network that matched the output of the transmitters, which were anywhere from 50 to 75 ohms, down up to the 277 ohm. Then, of course, the other matching network up there matched the 75 ohm 6-inch line.
Okay.
So you had down here, two networks, 7 to, at the time, 150-ish, right? Yeah. And the other matching 75 to 150-ish.
So, Obi-Wan, what's the purpose of this?
Well, in this case, we've got, if and radiation, the non-ionizing radiations. Wait a minute, there.
Fluorescent light is lighting because of the excitation.
Well, yeah, we are, but it's radiation than you would get on a sunny day if you were sitting at the beach. So this fluorescent tube, there's enough energy being coupled into it from the tuning network. In this case, the line coming out through this network into the. There's enough energy there to light up a fluorescent tube.
Let's turn the light back on. Chris, I'm really not aware. Could you see it okay? And I thought I heard you saying something, Chris.
No, I was just saying you cut out a couple of times. So just for the audience, I was saying the RF is exciting the gases inside the fluorescent light in the same manner that the two anode ends excite the gas when powered by electricity.
I appreciate you filling in, Chris. As you're aware, we have a building. We're shooting the wireless mic back into a building that has a Faraday cage around it, and we're next to 50,000 watts coming out of a tower right out here. Now, there's a main antenna to network, and then there's a backup one behind. There's two feeds that come out here in case one of them needs repair or it collapses or something like that. It can be fixed.
Gets hit by lightning, which is not unheard of.
Right.
It's not common, but it's not unheard of.
We have just enough daylight left. Let's go take a look at the tower. Okay. See if our cameraman can shoot the tower out here. It's a beautiful evening here in Atlanta, Georgia, and there's that 650-foot. At the base of the tower are the originals. You can maybe see at the two different guy levels there's some extra steel, kind of look like 55-gallon drums around the tower. They would be larger than 55-gallon drums. They look like. And Scott, if you want to pull on down toward the base of the tower, I see a photocell there near the bottom. I can see the lightning gap on the far left side, and then the insulators, one insulator upside down, one right side up, both coming together to the entire weight of that tower rests on those. Vic, Charles, anybody know what that tower weighs?
No.
A lot.
No idea.
Plus it has the force of the guy wires, not only their weight, but their tension pulling down. So good thing that ceramic is very strong in compression. Doesn't do so well in torsion, but
no, it kind of comes apart then. You mentioned the two barrels that are up at the guy anchor points. We've had various discussions over the years as to what those really are, and there's all sorts of conjecture. I heard everything from when the Naval Air Station was just up the road here during World War II. They were added so the radar could see the tower. That was one story. I don't really believe that.
It's actually on the Truscon drawings that we found. They're in the building, and those show up on the original tower when it was built with those. They're structured because they're at the guy anchor or the guy point attachment points.
Why don't we walk over here where we have the tower and us? And I'm sorry, in the shot. And obviously, we didn't do much blocking on this beforehand,
or none.
So, does that mean that the concrete pier also dates from 1939?
Or before. It's been here originally.
Yeah, and if you'll note on the concrete, it looks like a concrete pier, but if you look very carefully, you probably can't see it in the shot now, but that is a sheet of copper. That whole
Copper.
It's covered with copper.
Gotcha.
And underneath our feet is solid copper sheet.
Wow.
That goes out. Normally, you
we lost you there.
attach the radials, right? But here they went ahead and put copper sheet. And if you look at the floor of the antenna tuning house, that's copper sheet as well. So they didn't fool around when they built the place.
And the roof of the ATU is copper as well, much to my dismay when I had to pay for it to be replaced a few years ago.
Oh, no.
But it was well worth it for this site.
Now, there is another tower right behind Scott Trask. I don't know, Scott, if you want to turn around and shoot that tower. This tower looks like it's for STL purposes.
That's correct. I can imagine Vic had that put in back in the day.
It was part of the original build. We didn't think it was a good idea to try to put, there was a tower up at the old building that had the STL antennas on it. And we didn't think it was a really good idea to, particularly then, to try to put STL antennas on this hot tower. It could be done, but we opted for the smaller tower next to the building for the STL antennas.
Thinking about the original building, about 500 feet away from here, which is, I think, now a Fuddruckers, or was a Fuddruckers, and now something else.
Now it's a Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A. There you go. I take it that wasn't the studio. That was just a transmitter building.
Yes, it was just the transmitter.
Well, we've mentioned STL a couple times. How did they get audio from the studio, which I would assume is downtown Atlanta, into this transmitter building so far away out here in Tucker, Georgia?
It was all lease lines. It was all originally, it was phone company leased circuits, equalized circuits, which we still had did they still have equalized circuits when you went to work here?
Yes, we still have one circuit left that, of course, they don't no longer do the analog, and so it's virtual ISDN is what it is. But it still works well, and it's actually on the air right this moment.
Oh, interesting. And when I went to work here, we had ring down circuits between the studio and the transmitter sites. You just picked up the handset and it rang the other end.
So we're not going to walk all the way out the guy anchor points, but earlier we talked about how when design Crow decide to handle the possibility of a car running into the anchor point.
Well, those anchor points are all basically encased. There's a curb and a sidewalk, and then there are, around the guy anchors themselves, there are built up concrete walls, if you will. And then there's fencing around that to keep curious people from, going up and leaning against it and whatever.
I think the insurance industry has a term for a structure like this. It's called an attractive nuisance. Yeah, you knew that.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, there was, and the wall around the transmitter building here was the same thing. It was, how to keep curious people out and make the place as secure as possible.
Does it feel to you like this is secure? Do you ever have problems here? Because we're in a city. I mean,
we've never had any problems here. It's always been real safe. My only complaint about the wall is that it's round and not square, because trying to get large trucks in and out of here is beastly.
Well, you have a DX10 that needs to leave, don't you?
Yes.
we're looking for a good home.
Wow.
This is swap shop sometimes, right?
When you penciled this out, the idea for how the building would lay out, did it turn out the way you envisioned it?
Yes, actually much better. The aesthetics of the building, the way it was built, and the level, the investment that Trammell Crow was willing to make in this facility, it actually turned out way better than I thought it ever would. And it turned out, and here we are 35 years later.
Yeah.
Ish.
And it's still an outstanding facility.
My goodness. We're at the WSB Transmitter, Atlanta, Georgia. I'm Kirk. along with Vic Jester, Charles Kinney, and Scott Trask is our cameraman. Thank you, Scott. And I know we've got a little echo here on the. We're going to go back inside shortly. Chris Tobin, do you have any questions before we run back inside? I think I can hear you if I listen close.
No questions. You guys answered them very well. The historical background is great. I mean, I love that kind of stuff, and it's sad it's lost on a lot of the younger engineers today. But it's well worth learning, and the fact that you got a library of books from the 30s is even better. I like that. I had the pleasure of reading similar proceedings at the Leonard Kahn's facility on Long Island many years ago. The IRE manuals are the library he had. So it was fun going through that and learning a few things about fiber optics that was being developed in 1929. So yes, it's well worth keeping that history and learning from it.
I have a final question. Charles, why is it that every ladder around here is covered in red and white paint?
Well, it's because probably me was too stupid to put the ladders away when they painted the tower.
Is that it? That's great. Hey, it's This Week in Radio Tech, our 519th episode. We've been with you for about 11 years now, and delighted that you can join us week after week. Please tell your friends. If you're watching on YouTube, please click the thumbs up button. That'd be great. Click the like and subscribe. Be terrific. Hey, if you want to leave a comment too, we do get around to reading those as just whenever we can. Our show is brought to you in part by two additional sponsors. One of them is Angry Audio. The other one is Max Connect Wireless. And we're going to switch cameras and go back inside. Chris Tobin, I wonder if you might tell our friends, our viewers, about Max Connect Wireless. We'll be right back with you.
Max Connect. It's a service that uses the cellular carriers AT&T, Verizon, or T-Mobile. It's a service that provides you with connectivity that you don't get from a standard consumer wireless appliance. Max Connect is used by broadcasters across the country, and I believe overseas, I think up north in Canada, for STL purposes, for backup to IP data at their transmitter sites. You know, you have a remote location, you have cellular, no problem, because it just seems to be everywhere at transmitter sites, but connectivity landline-wise can sometimes be difficult. So that's the way to go. Max Connect, I've used it on many occasions. I've used it early on when it first came out, and Josh and the gang were trying to develop it and understand where and how it can be used. I used it for a couple of events actually across the street from two major venues here in the New York metropolitan area, where I was able to stay connected and did a sports broadcast, both video and audio, across it. It worked very well, while others around us were having trouble getting internet service for their favorite stats for the game. It was for hockey, and it was fun. It worked. And I've used it on many occasions here for This Week in Radio Tech, when I've been on locations that did not have a local Wi-Fi drop that I can access, or even a Ethernet port. Rooftops of some buildings here in New York City, I used it, and it worked very well. So the crux of Max Connect is really the fact that it's dedicated IP. It's an IP, static IP. It's prioritized. That's correct. If you really research what's going on, it's prioritized in the sense that a cell site has priority levels, just like any managed LAN, really, WAN or LAN. And what happens is you have life safety, public service at the top, special services, combination of other dedicated services and needs second. That's where Max Connect comes in. Then you have consumer, and all the others follow below. So you actually are above the others, and that's what you want to be when you're a broadcaster that's providing 5 nines reliability, 5 nines of broadcast storytelling. Max Connect offers all of that and more, and it uses a PepWave hardware appliance. It works very well, and you can do VPN over it. So if you're concerned about security purposes and connectivity, you can do that. It uses built-in Wi-Fi, so you can create your own little hotspot that's your own with a dedicated static IP. Did I mention that? Yes, static IP. Very important to understand that. And all of that can be managed remotely or on-site through the unit, and that's pretty much it. That's what it comes down to. It's very straightforward. It works. You plug it in, it logs into the network, off you go. That's all you have to worry about. And just make sure that if you want more control, maybe you need a little extra gain, you can attach it. It uses SMA RF connections, so you can detach the small little baton or a paddle antenna and put on a Yagi. That's the Yagi, which is a long pole with little spikes on it. For those of you who are just learning RF, it's handy. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to increase your data rate, okay? A Yagi, increased gain, doesn't increase data rate per se. What it does do is ensure that the data rate you are guaranteed to get stays intact. Remember, cellular devices talk to the cell site. If the conditions are good, it asks for more data. If the conditions are poor, it rolls back. So the Yagi or dedicated antenna or properly mounted paddle antenna on your Max Connect ensures that you get the data rate you need to work with. These are things to understand. This is under the hood. You want to know more? Call Josh's support desk. They'll tell you all about it. Max Connect, Josh Bone, and the gang will tell you all the little details or the, if you will, secrets behind or underneath the hood. Go for it. Max Connect. You can't go wrong. And by the way, make sure you tell them you heard it on This Week in Radio Tech, because I need to get some coffee dollars. I need to get my coffee replenished. I'm only kidding. Max Connect. It's a solution you can't go without. And let's see if Kirk has made it back to the inside of the WSB transmitter building.
Hey, Charlie, how you doing?
Pretty good.
It's so good to see you.
Good to see you.
You're holding something that you will not snag your pantyhose on.
I'm glad to hear that.
or your kilt. That is a headphone amp.
Cool.
From Angry Audio. And you can see it's got the Studio Hub inputs and outputs. I guess we could show that to the camera.
Oh, yeah.
Studio Hub inputs and outputs on the back. Now, that's not Ethernet, but it's Cat 5 cable.
Right.
It's analog, and it'll also carry power. You can daisy chain these.
Okay.
You can put power in right here on the little power connector, 16 volts AC, and you can mount this up under your console.
Run it to other units.
Yeah, you can
okay.
daisy chain
Yeah,
them,
yeah.
and each person gets their own volume control.
And it has 1/8 and 1/4 inch.
It's got country and western.
Country and
both
western.
kinds.
Wow.
I love it. And look at this. They even put the little drops of silicone there, so you can screw that with your power driver up under, because you don't want to be under the counter any longer than you have to.
Right.
And you can just put your screws up there, and there it is, and
hold it.
And it works great.
Yeah.
That's from Angry Audio, and I almost didn't bring enough Angry Audio stuff with me. I'm using some of it to hold this stuff together. But if you haven't used Studio Hub to wire a studio, you need to, because it's great. And if you have used Studio Hub to wire a studio, don't buy an imitation, because you need to buy the real Studio Hub stuff. And it's available from Angry Audio, angryaudio.com. It's available from your favorite broadcast equipment dealer. Use Cat 5 cable to wire your studio up, and just where you need to connect to something with XLR or 1/4 inch RCA, you've got it.
Been using those things. Look great.
Have you? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've never had a problem. It's a balanced audio. It's always perfect. It's just a great way to use technology.
Yep.
angryaudio.com. They got lots of gadgets, including the Bluetooth audio gadget, which lets you take your cell phone and hook it to your audio console through Bluetooth, and that works really well.
That's really nice.
Okay.
I know a couple of TV stations that need to do that.
Yeah.
That are using their iPhones for interviews now, and audio is terrible.
If you got a whole talk show, well, there's companies like my employer that makes those things.
Yeah.
But if you've got a home studio, or you just need one line and use it very occasionally, bring your cell phone in, hook it up with Bluetooth, away you go.
Yeah, well, with COVID, they were trying to make it a little bit easier to do things from their offices or from their homes, and so they were using their iPhones to call up and do interviews, and audio. They were actually using a microphone, holding it up to the iPhone for the it's terrible audio. TV people don't care about audio.
Sorry, I was adjusting the speaker there, trying to make that pretty. So, Charlie, it's good to see you.
Good to see you.
Now, you, other than being really friendly with the engineers here, this is not your radio station, is it?
No, I just enjoy coming up here.
You just like wearing the other guy's shirt.
That's right.
That's better side.
Yeah, I've known Charles a long time and knew his dad. And his dad used to work in Panama City. And
really?
And Charles grew up in Panama City.
Something I'd like to talk to you about is, you've been well respected in the broadcast engineering world. I think 1 year, maybe back when it was Clear Channel, they called you Engineer of the Year or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. And Charles Kinney is well respected too in the broadcast engineering world. Talk to me a little bit about the camaraderie that engineers like you, Scott Trask, Vic Jester, Charles Kinney, it seems endemic that good engineers like to spend time with each other.
There was a great group of people here today before you got here, and we were.
I ruined it. I know. It's okay.
No.
Okay.
they before. I mean, they literally got here earlier than you drove up, and we were just telling stories, and we all knew people that we were talking about, and it was just a good thing, just a great thing to get together and exchange. Well, they're not lies, but they're stories, and they're real. There's real situations, and talk about different things that happened, and even trying to help troubleshoot some stuff. I've had that problem before. It's a lot of fun to get together with those guys.
You were right in the midst of that Hurricane Michael.
Right.
Has that been 3 years, 3.5 years?
October the 10th, 2018, 12:45 p.m. Central Time.
Just over 2 hours, over 2 years.
Yeah.
So how's that recovery? You got a STL tower replaced out of that, but lots of other things too.
Well, we lost STL tower. We lost a 3-tower AM array.
Oh.
Yeah. And unfortunately, we had to put that station to bed, and it's not coming back.
Right.
But that was the right decision to make. It just what would not arithmetic, as a friend of mine used to say, to spend that much money on putting back a 3-tower array on 590, which would be a lot of money.
Yeah.
And the city is still got a lot of scars. It's coming back, but it's going to take another 5-6 years, believe it or not. There's still buildings that are demolished. There's still buildings that are waiting to be demolished, and a lot of people are still negotiating with their insurance companies. So it's it's a mess.
What's that decision process like? Now you can use a radio station, the AM 3-tower array, to rebuild it. It would have to be a 3-tower array, I suppose, or it could have been way down in power.
It could have been. We probably could have downgraded it to something a lot less, but it just with the way present economic situation, it just wasn't the right decision to make.
How do you think other businesses, because you are familiar with people that you do business with, you pass businesses every day, you pass closed businesses or destroyed ones every day. How do people come to that decision as to, do I rebuild, or do I take some insurance money and leave and do something else, retire, get a job somewhere? How does that work?
It was a very hard decision, and it went all the way. I can say this with confidence. It went all the way to the top in our company, completely all the way to the top, before we made the decision to do that. Or they made the decision. I didn't have anything to do with the decision. But
hey, I'm getting a ping that it's time for us to go.
Yeah,
I didn't realize we had spent so much time together, but the time outside and this. So we've got to run. And Suncast, thank you very much for staying a few minutes over. I really appreciate it. Charlie, you came a long way to be here, and I appreciate that.
Well, I appreciate
very
you
much.
coming.
And your thoughts are always welcome. We need to have you back on the show.
Good to be
We
here.
need to talk about ham radio one day again, too.
Well, we need to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be good. All right. Chris Tobin, I'm going to leave it to you, Chris, to take us on out, because I'm not hearing you guys. So if you would take us on out, I appreciate it. We'll see you next week next week, Chris, Thanksgiving Day. I believe we're going to have some engineers from Nautel on the show. Those Canadians don't celebrate Thanksgiving the way we do.
That's correct.
And so we're going to have Philip Schmid and maybe John White from Nautel on This Week in Radio Tech on Thanksgiving Day. So we'll see you then. Chris, go ahead.
All right. Well, thank you, Kirk and Charlie and Charles and everyone at WSB, a famous and historic transmitter site. So This Week in Radio Tech, a co-host myself, Chris Tobin, along with Kirk Harnack, the host. We wish you all the best, and this is concluding today's episode. We'll see you next week on This Week in Radio Tech.